Welcome to this session. As was told, I'm Sad Malik. I work for the Google Search Quality team based out of Hyderabad office. And today I'm here to talk to you about Google Search and how it works and SEO and stuff like that. So until now, basically, you have interacted with the front end of Google Search. And you go to google.com, say, for example, and then type in a query and then get the results. However, today I'll take you behind the scenes into the journey to understand basically how exactly things work behind the scenes and how do you get the results on the search page. So this is how our agenda looks. In the first section, we will cover the mechanics of search, where we will talk about the two primary processes of how search works, which are called as crawling and indexing. Followed by, we will take a look at the role of algorithms in the working of search. And then we will move on to the front end and take a sample search result and try to dissect and understand various parts of the search, just to understand how a search result is presented in this results page. And then I will share with you 7 basic visibility tips that you can apply to your content immediately after the session and help Google understand your websites better, increase your visibility in search results, and make your websites and content search engine friendly. And then I will share with you some resources that you can use to further this SEO journey and then learn about and apply some advanced techniques to your content and also seek help, get in touch with us, and various things. Right? All set? Okay, so how exactly does search work? That's basically a very broad question to ask, right? To understand this, first we will have to understand what a search engine is. Yes or no? Yeah? So we'll have to define a search engine, what exactly a search engine is. In words of Larry Page, who is this Larry Page, by the way? Yeah, just making sure I'm in the right place. Okay, so in words of Larry Page, the perfect search engine would understand exactly what you mean and give you back exactly what you want. Right? Now, how is a search engine supposed to understand what you mean and give you what you want? To understand this, let us forget about search engines for a bit, and let us take an example to understand what we're actually dealing with. Right? So I give this example always. Imagine that you have to build the world's biggest library. This task is given to you. They said, go, build the world's biggest library. Now, what is the first thing you would want to do to build this library? And the goal of this library would be to not send anybody empty-handed who would come to this library, right, seeking a book or a publication or a resource, whatever. You have to make a comprehensive library, because everything that is available outside should be in your library as well. So what would you do to make this library? The first thing, basically, you would want to do is go out, find out the list of books and publications that are out there so that you can include that in your library. Yeah? And then find out who the publishers are, who the distributors are, and then source this. Basically, go and buy that to include in your library. So that is the first part. So we can call this part basically the part where you discover information. So this is the part of discovery. You basically are discovering what are the books available, who are the publishers, and things like that. After you have discovered, and say, for example, you have bought all these books, and you're standing in this big hall. Let's say you have ended up buying 100 million books, and there's this huge pile in front of you. Now, what do you want to do with this pile? Now, at this moment, if somebody walks into that library, would you be able to pull out a book that he wants from that pile? Absolutely not. You would basically want to organize this in some manner so that it's easy and quick for you to pull a book when somebody is asking for it. Right? So the next important part is basically the organization. Yeah? So the first part is discovery. The second part is organization. Coming back to our search engines, do you think the same two things apply to search engines as well? Yeah? What was it that we were dealing with when we were talking about the library? It is basically data and information, right? At its core. In form of what? Books, publications, yeah? We were talking about that. What are we talking about when we are talking about a search engine? Talking about the same thing? Information, data, in form of what? Web pages, exactly. right? Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of different formats, primarily web pages. So yes, every search engine must go out and discover what are the pages available on the internet, on the World Wide Web, source them, and organize them in some manner in advance so that if anybody comes to us looking for something, types in a query, the search engine is in a position to basically throw back the results. Yeah? Now, talking about the World Wide Web, how many web pages do you think a search engine would have to deal with? Trillions? How many trillions? 5? 400 trillion? Wow. Yeah. Any other last final guess? 30? 30? Trillion? Were you there in the Goa summit? Okay. Right. But unfortunately, I had to say this exact same thing in Ahmedabad as well. That information is outdated already. And that is now 60 trillion. Yeah? That is the amount of data a search engine is dealing with. And the processes of discovery and organization in technical terms, rather in the terms of search engine, are known as crawling and indexing. Right? Now, why do we call it crawling? Because that is how we discover information. Every search engine must have a software that goes out on the World Wide Web and discover web pages. And this piece of software is known by different names. Any examples? Spiders, crawlers, bots, robots, etc. Right? Exactly. Now, what is the official name of this piece of software that Google has? Googlebot. Exactly, right? Great. Googlebot. And that is the mascot there. That is how Googlebot basically looks. That is how we represent it. So this piece of software, this Googlebot, basically goes out on the internet to the pages it already knows about. And then while it is on a page, say for example, it went to 5 pages. While it is on this one page, it will basically copies this page to have a copy of this page in its repository. And then after copying this page, it will basically look at the links pointing to other resources that are present on this, the links that are present on this page that are pointing to other resources. For every link it finds, it will jump to that resource, finding and discovering new web pages. Right? And it repeats the process when it is on those pages. So from this one page, it might jump to like 5 other pages. From these 5 pages, it will jump to, again, like 125 pages, 25 pages, 125 pages, and so on and so forth. So that is how the process of discovery works. And since this bot is like crawling from, jumping from, hopping from link to link, that is why we call it crawling. Now once we crawl everything, the web pages, then we have to organize it, just like we did with our library. So this part, when you're organizing, we basically look at the content of the page. We try to understand what it is talking about, what is the subject of the page, what are the keywords present in the title, in the headline, or in the content, and things like that. We take a look at different things. And then we try to organize all of this content, trillions of pages based on that information. And we keep track of all of this information, this metadata about that page, in what we call as indexing, index. That is why this process is known as indexing. So is that clear? Right? So first we crawl the pages, basically discover, and then we organize it and store it in our index. Once we crawl and discover, basically discover, and then index it, are we ready to serve people when they come searching for something? So somebody, now the search engine is made. Somebody comes to a search engine, types in a query. Are we in a position to give that person results back? Not yet. Why not? What algorithms? Sorting? Ranking? Absolutely. Basically, we are in a position to give the results. Right? Somebody comes in, we know if we have information about that in our index or not, and how many pages do we have for that, and things like that. However, the question that arises is, how do we rank these web pages? So since we are dealing with 60 trillion pages, it is most likely that for every query, we will have at least dozens of pages that are matching, that are relevant, if not thousands. Right? Yes, sometimes there are millions of results that would match given query. Now, in the search results page, we have like 10 results that we show, and we want to show the most relevant result in the first position, lesser relevant result in the second, and so on and so forth. Now, how do we organize this? Right? How do we rank these web pages? That is where, sorry? PageRank? Impressions? Okay, we will talk about those things a little bit. So basically, that is where the algorithms come into picture. So algorithms are, again, computer programs that look at various things, various signals, and try to understand your query as you type it. So when you type something in the search box, algorithms get to work. And they look at different signals. Things like, say, for example, autocomplete. How many of you seen autocomplete on Google search? As you're typing, Google starts suggesting. Most of us, yeah? Yes. So Google is trying to tell you, okay, maybe you mean this. Looking at what you're typing, I know other people have typed this. Other people have searched for this. Maybe you mean this, right? And looking at spellings. If you misspell something, Google will suggest, okay, did you mean this? Because I have documents with these words in them, not exactly what you have typed. So do you mean this? And then synonyms. If you have typed in a word, and there are documents that have that do not have the exact word, what you have typed in, but rather have some synonyms on those pages, Google would automatically pull those resources as well for you, because those might be also relevant. How many have you seen Google Instant? Everyone? Wow. Not actually. What is Google Instant? Absolutely. So it is the advanced version of autocomplete, I could say. Right? So in autocomplete, it is basically suggesting you queries. In Instant, it is basically presenting you with those results for those suggestions automatically. And then search methods. What is the device you're using? If you're searching for, say, for example, apps, just the apps, on your Mac, Google might show you results for applications for your MacBook. Pages with applications with your MacBook. If you're using a mobile phone, then it may throw results for pages for your mobile, like Android or iOS or whatever, right? And things like that. One other important part is also understanding your query based on different factors, like your search history, say, for example. So Google also takes a look at your search history and then try to understand, for a certain term, what is it that you exactly mean by it, and tries to put it in the exact context in relation to you and then try to present the results. For this, we can take a small example. Say you typed in Jaguar. What is Jaguar? Car, animal, bathroom fittings, what else? Aircraft as well. Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, so a lot of things, right? So if you type in Jaguar, now, what is Google supposed to show you? All of these? Yes, primarily yes. If Google doesn't know anything about you, yes. But say, I am a carpenter. Not a carpenter, sorry, a plumber, right? I'm a plumber, and I have been searching for a lot of these bathroom fittings and things like that in my past on Google search. So when I type Jaguar, Google basically knows, okay, this person, from the history I know, he is a plumber. He searches for a lot of bathroom fittings and things like that. So when this person is typing Jaguar, he probably means bathroom fittings and not the car or the animal, right? So Google might show me more results from the pages that are talking about bathroom fittings rather than animals and cars. So a lot of things. These are a few things that we look at, that the algorithms look at to understand your query. But there are a lot of other things. Yes, localization is also that also plays an important. Absolutely. So if you're searching for, say, pizza outlets, if I'm searching for pizza outlets here in Bangalore, Google will give me pizza outlets nearby my area because those are relevant to me right now. If I'm in Hyderabad, then it would give me results from there. So a lot of things, actually. And then once Google understands, the algorithm understands, like, put my query in context, we will pull the most relevant resources from what we call the index, and then rank them based on more than 200 factors. So I heard voices saying PageRank and things like that. So just to clarify, PageRank is only one of those more than 200 factors that we use to rank web pages. Right? It is just one. People give way more importance to it. I'm not saying it is not important. It is important, but it is just one of the 200 factors. And these things work in combination with others. So if you have a very good PageRank, I'll give you an example. There's a Wikipedia page, say, for example, talking about roses. Its PageRank is 10, the highest PageRank. You're searching for soccer gear on Google search. Do you think this page talking about flowers should rank in your search results? Absolutely not. Right? Why? Because it is not relevant. Even though it has PageRank 10, it may not rank at all. So PageRank is just one of those factors. We look at various things like, okay, the keywords that are present in the title, in the headings of your content, and a lot of other factors, right? And then we present these results in various formats based on what you're using to search. And all of this happens from the time you type in a query in Google search, and then algorithms trying to understand your query, what do you exactly mean, and then pulling out the relevant documents and presenting it to you. All of this happens in just 1/8 of a second. Isn't that amazing? Yeah? Right. So that brings us to the next part of understanding search, where we will go back to the front end of search, take a look at one of the results, and try to understand how search results or web pages are represented in search results. So this is how a result in Google search looks, right? Yeah? So I searched for Ahmedabad, Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, and I got this result. Now let us try to understand various parts of the search results. What is the first line in blue? Title? Where is it coming from? Heading? Title tag in HTML? Absolutely, you're very right. Right? So it is not the heading of the content on your page. It is not. It is basically the title. So there is, if you know HTML, there is a provision for the webmaster to provide the title of the page. And title is basically something like, just like the title of a book, say, for example. It describes what is in there. Great. So that is the title of the page. And as this gentleman rightly mentioned, Google sometimes take the titles that webmasters mention and show them in the search results exactly as they were mentioned. Or sometimes Google might pick snippets from the documents, from the content of the web page, and display those as titles if they are more relevant to the query. So that is how it works. What is the next line in green? URL, right? The resource where it is residing, the URL to that page. And what are a couple of other links that are following in black? Meta description? Not always. Again, as with the title, Google may pick something from your content as well if it thinks that some snippet from your content is more relevant to a query than what the webmaster has mentioned as a description tag. What follows? Right, site links, sorry? Related? No. Inner links? Yes. Those are links to inner pages, sub-pages. Right? So based on many factors, again, Google may think, okay, for this query, for this page, these links might also be useful. Right? So it allows a user basically to jump to those inner pages directly from the search results page. So this is how a search result looks. Now, these site links can also be sometimes presented like this, with their own descriptions. These site links, yes.
So when does it represent that way and when does it?
Good question. So if Google thinks that inner pages, the titles of the inner pages would also be helpful for these, for this query, then Google might show up these descriptions for the pages as well. And it also depends on how you have organized your website, how well you have written your descriptions, how well the content on those inner pages is, and things like that. Right? And sometimes
it doesn't depend on the way you've constructed your website only, in a sense.
Not only, yes.
So there might the same search result might just come with site links.
Yes, it may. Yes, of course. Based on what a user have typed in, based on the query, it may appear anyways, like this, or just with the site links, without the descriptions. Sometimes you may also see some extra information in the snippet. What are these called? Sorry? You were right. Louder. Rich snippets? Exactly. How many have you seen these? Like stars or things like that in the search results? Most of us, right? So these are called rich snippets. So sometimes Google tries to present some more information about that page if that page is very well organized, and if that information would be useful to a user, then Google will display this as well. Now this will take us to the next and more interesting part of the session, where we will see what is it that you can do to make your website search engine friendly, help Google understand, crawl, and index your pages better, and then rank them better in the search results. And the technique used to do this, basically optimizing your websites, is known as SEO, search engine optimization, right? How many types of search engine optimizations are there? How many types of search engine optimizations do we know of? Yeah. 2? What are they? Sorry? Paid and organic? Okay. On page and off page. Okay. White hat and black hat. Okay. Okay, great. So 2 correct answers, 1 wrong answer. I was looking for white hat and black hat. So these are the kinds of SEO as we describe in the SEO industry, white hat and black hat. Talking about paid and organic, no, it is not. SEO, when we say search engine optimization, we are talking solely about the organic search listings. The sponsored listings on Google search results pages are like entirely different. They work entirely different, and they have no relation whatsoever with the organic listings. Right? If you are a client, AdWords client, and if you're paying for some keywords to rank in the sponsored listings, that will have absolutely no influence on your organic search listings. Nothing at all. Right? Organic listings are solely based on meritocracy and relevance. That's all, nothing else. If Google thinks something is relevant to a query, it will rank it there. It doesn't matter if you're a paying client for AdWords or using AdSense or using other Google products or whatever. Right? Nothing comes into picture. Now, even before I start talking about the visibility tips and the small little techniques, the white hat ones, to show you how you can optimize your web pages, make them search engine friendly, one important thing I would like to point out is to know and implement the search quality guidelines that we have. So Google has a resource called Webmaster Guidelines, wherein we also mention some of the quality guidelines, talking about white hat and black hat SEO. The difference basically between these two is black hat SEOs, when you do black hat search engine optimization, you're basically trying to optimize your pages for search engines. They might not be worthy to rank for some keywords. They might not be relevant for some keywords, but however, you would want to rank them higher than other relevant pages available in the search results and try to influence the search results by using malicious techniques. That is what black hat SEO is. And Google doesn't like that, of course. Right? Google doesn't want you to interfere with those kind of things in how Google rank things, because Google wants to provide the best possible experience to its users and give the most relevant results. However, on the other side, we have white hat SEO, wherein you're applying everything in accordance, all the techniques that you're applying on your web pages is in accordance with the search quality guidelines. So there are some do's and don'ts. So I would highly recommend you to go to this resource and read all the guidelines even before you start optimizing your web pages. Right? So for a black hat SEO, the entire focus, or most of his focus, is on the search engines. Okay, how can I rank better? That is what he's always thinking. For a white hat SEO, he's worried about its users. Okay, how can I bring more value to my users? How can I make that value search engine friendly? And that is the thought process a white hat SEO would have. So the main takeaway from this slide is to basically make your pages primarily with your users in focus and not search engines. Great. Here is an example of black hat SEO optimized page. So this person is basically trying to, looking at this page, it may look as a normal blog post or a web page, right? It has a title, then it has some content, it has an image, and then it has a button right there. And on the right, it has some sponsored listings. Now, if you read into the text, although it is not very clear here, what this person is trying to do is he has basically stuffed that description with keywords. He's basically trying to rank for this long tail query called rectangle table, 20-inch high, whatever. Right? So he has stuffed that content with all those keywords. Now this person, and if you see, this person is not the seller of this table. He is like that unwanted broker standing between you and the original seller. Right? And what happens when you go to this page is you will end up clicking that button right there at the bottom, go to the store. You will be taken to the store, who is the store that is actually selling this product. You will buy it from there. However, you leave some commission for this person. Now, when Google is ranking websites, Google would like to rank the original sellers rather than ranking affiliates like this who are adding absolutely no value at all. They're just standing between you and the organic and the other relevant result, right? The original seller, right? Would you like such search results to appear in such pages to appear in search results? Absolutely not. And Google doesn't like either. Now, another important thing here to note is that not all affiliate websites are bad. If you're an affiliate and if you can provide additional value than what the original seller is providing, that's great. Users would want that. And users sometimes would want to see web pages that are affiliate pages rather than seeing the original pages. Can we have some examples here? Price comparison websites. Make My Trip. Redbus. Absolutely, right? All of these are like pure affiliates, 100% affiliates. Do you think those websites are bad? No? Would you when you're searching for flights, say for example, if Make My Trip appears in your search results, would you be happy to see it or? Yeah? Yes, those are like pure affiliates. However, they add so much more value to that affiliation that you would love to see those in results. So, since this actually is very bad user experience and Google doesn't like it, we take action against these kind of pages and we basically, yeah? Right. So would those sites be relevant to a query or not?
No, but the thing is there are many websites which are ranking and which are irrelevant and which we work on those websites, they are never up. But then there is, I don't know, Google is how long it takes to penalize them. They are ranking for a month and it's like very shorter time, it takes longer time to come up.
Which completely copied our content to content, image to image.
Client's portfolio.
Complete client portfolio. We had certain specialized design where we had Swarag on it, but then the rest of the things was completely copied. And they were listed. They were listed for quite a long time. We spoke to that guy. We tried to threaten him that we will give it to the cybercrime and all that, but it didn't work. And somehow, after
It's still
some
ranking,
time,
is it?
then we submitted to Google. So then his whole website was removed.
Google asked us, have you got us the copyright of the complete website, your website? So unfortunately, we did not have a copyright of whatever we did. So, and we were not able to claim it. Fortunately, they removed themselves from there.
The whole website is
so
not
basically
there,
all
but,
complaints. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate. But the thing we must understand is Google search is not perfect. Right? Let us make that clear. Google search is... Sorry?
Yeah.
How are you going to help us?
Yes,
It
I'm
was
coming
just
to that.
the name, like our company's name is Swarag Technologies. They made it NAP Technologies. That was the only change in the whole website.
Right.
Complete website.
Right.
And the address on the contact us page, the address was changed, but the rest of the things was completely copied.
Right. I'm coming to that part as well, what we do to help you. So basically, first let us make this clear that Google search is not perfect. No other search engine is. We are dealing with 60 trillion pages, and these pages are extremely dynamic. Like, there are thousands of pages coming up every hour, thousands of them going down, thousands of them being updated, right? And it's pretty difficult, right? So that is one thing. Second thing is, as you said, it was keyword stuffed and things like that. If Google thought that even if it had some keyword stuffing and things like that, but if it was relevant, that might still show up. Or sometimes what may happen is you're looking at a very long tail query where there are scarce of resources for that particular query, and the only web pages we have for that kind of queries are which are not very good pages, but we don't have anything else to rank, right? In those cases as well, we might rank these pages because we have nothing else to rank, right? There are various things. However, what we do to address this is we have something called a spam report tool. If you search in, Google search, you will find this page. You just go there and try to report everything like this that you find, and then we will try to take action on it, either manually or algorithmically or whatever, right? So help us, because we are dealing with a lot of information. We are not perfect yet. We are trying to be there, striving very hard. That is one thing you can do. Coming to people
Sorry, what did you say? Go to
spam report tool. Just type that in Google search and you should be able to find that. Now, talking about people copying each other's content and things like that. Now, this is more than search, right? This is something beyond just search and what Google can do. So, what if you said what was the other website? NAP Technology, right? What if NAP Technologies comes and they say, okay, it is not us, but it is them who copied the content, right? So we are not some central authority looking at. We are not like a government authority, or not. We are not the police of the web, right? So there comes the legal aspects of certain things where we are absolutely helpless. We can't do anything. However, that said, Google actually has very good algorithms to recognize original writers of the content and things like that. One of the things we have also done to help these kind of things is the authorship. How many of you know about Google authorship tags? Authorship, right? Yes. Yeah? So that is one of the things you can do from your side, right? And Google supports that. So we are working towards this. However, since some things are out of our reach, what we can do, like legal issues and stuff like that, we can't always pull down websites randomly on requests. Right? It was fortunate for you that was a pull down. Probably it was in violation with others, probably other guidelines and stuff like that worked. Right? But do use the spam report tool and report those issues. Great. Let's move on. Okay. So if you have Google Plus profile, and if you write articles, blogs, or whatever, then you can actually link your content to your Google Plus profile, and Google will basically attach that content to you as an author and show your picture from Google Plus page in the search results. You might have seen that when you type for some content against some article, you would see like a picture, like a face, basically, right? So that is authorship. It allows you to link your content to yourself as an author.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Generally, what happens is what I've been reading lately, that if any person is copying your content, Google is penalizing both the sources. So,
is that a hypothetical question?
No, because
No,
I've read that.
It happened.
Yeah, because I have read it, and what I'm understanding, because you just mentioned that Google has got a mechanism using which they can identify who is the owner of the
which is not
content,
perfect,
right? So if you know who is the owner, then why don't you penalize the other people? Why?
Yes, as I said, it is not perfect. That system, no system is perfect, right? Sometimes, very rarely, we might end up showing content that does not actually, the content basically scraped by someone else. Sometimes that may happen. I'm not saying that will not happen ever. That might happen. Most of the times, it will not. We serve like billions of queries in a month,
okay,
right? And these instances are very rare when you compare to that. But if you are that unfortunate person to happen to see this, report them, right? And help us make it better.
Right. Thank you.
Great. So let's move on to the 7 visibility tips. What you can do with your content after this session, actually. These are very basic level tips that I want to share. The first one is to make sure that your content is crawlable. Now, when we say crawlable, there are a lot of problems that may stand between Googlebot and your content, although you may not assume so. For example, your website may be down because of some DNS errors, and Googlebot might not be able to reach you. When Googlebot is trying to reach your website to crawl, there may be some issues with your server. If Googlebot is not able to reach your website, then it will not be able to crawl it as well or index it as well, right? And when it is not able to crawl your website, it will not be included in the index, and it will not be served even when people are searching for relevant queries. Even if your content is relevant, Google doesn't know about it, right? So it is extremely important to make sure that your content is crawlable. And how many of you know about Webmaster Tools? Okay, most of us. We will talk about it in a little detail in the following slides. However, Webmaster Tools is one of the best resources where you can find these errors, and also you can find articles that will show you how you can fix this and things like that. The second most important point is make sure that it is indexable. Just that making sure that your content is crawlable doesn't mean that it will also be indexed, right? Here is a very good example of that. So imagine that you have a website, a very beautiful, very user-friendly website made in Flash, completely in Flash, right? Now, as users see it in the browser, it looks like this. However, when Googlebot comes, Googlebot will not be able to crawl into the Flash animations and Flash movies and things like that, and it will not be able to understand what is inside that Flash content. So what it sees is this, the message that your webmaster has left for browsers that do not support Flash plugin, that do not have Flash plugin, etc. So this is what Google sees. So how do you think Google will index you? How will Google get the subject of your web page? Yes?
Claim that Google can crawl Flash the content because the text within that, treated within Flash out of Flash, it can crawl.
Absolutely. So we're not talking about Flash anymore when we say text, right? So by Flash, I mean the Flash file that you have usually in FLV, right? So within that file, if you have anything, you can't. When I say make sure it is indexable, now what would you do with these things? You would provide alternate content, right? That is exactly the thing you would do. Yes?
What about images?
Images as well. When you're using images and videos, Flash content, etc., make sure you provide alternate content. Now, we don't have time, or it is out of scope of this session to go into details how exactly you can implement these things, but I will share with you some resources that you can actually use, get yourself educated, and then apply those things. Okay, one of the things to see if your website is actually indexed in Google search or not is to use the site colon operator. How many of you know about this? Most of us. Yeah, site colon operators. So Google has some operators that you can use to modify your search or make your search more specific or narrow. So site colon is one of such operators. If you want to see if your website is indexed in Google search results or not, just go to google.com. We'll see the example in the following slide. Just go to google.com, type in site colon in a new website, and then you will be able to see. The other thing, as I mentioned, is Webmaster Tools. Webmaster Tools also has a lot of information about indexing, right? About your pages, how it is indexed, how many pages from your website is indexed, what are the problems Googlebot is having in indexing your pages, so on and so forth. So this is site colon operator in work, right? So when you type in, so I typed in site colon Royal Orchid Hotels, and I got this. So basically the website is indexed, which is good, and I see the results from that website. Yeah? Okay, tip 3. Look. Sorry?
How do you check the
Indexes
indexes of each page?
of each page. And we store all that in the index, right? So we're talking about that index. So to see if your page is being crawled and is stored in Google's index or not, you would use this.
I'm asking about a particular page, like if I want to have a wedding at Royal Orchid, then how would I find, would that page also be?
Okay, say for example, there is a page, royalorchidhotels.com, wedding at royalorchid.html. If you want to see if this specific page is in Google's index or not, use the same thing, right? Site colon followed by the URL. One thing to note is there should not be any space between site colon, right? There should be no space.
Can we use cache colon and the page, exact page URL, give the cache contents?
Yes, that is another thing that you can use. That will basically not, basically that should, if it is in cache, it should be an index. The other third point, very important point, is look good in search results. Many people may take this easy, but it is like extremely important. We will see why. So, for example, you're searching for good bakers or good bakeries in Bangalore, and you see this as a first result in Google search. Right? What does its result tell you about the web page? Nothing. Right? Everything is so generic. You don't know. Right? So using these things may not get you click-throughs. Although your web page, the content on the page might be relevant to the query, but if your search results are showing up like this in the search results, it is kind of waste. On the other hand, if you have something like this coming up, right, then it tells a lot about what this page is about and what content there is and things like that. So it is extremely important to take care of your titles and your descriptions. As we discussed earlier, there are title tags and description tags that a webmaster can use to put in specific titles and descriptions, and try to describe your pages. Have unique titles for all of your pages as much as possible in your website, and try to have unique descriptions for each of these pages in your websites. Right? That will really help. Another important thing is the URL. Having clear URLs, I'm just coming. Having clear URLs which are easily memorable, it really helps. If you have a URL which has special characters, session IDs, and all those kind of things, it is not very user-friendly, right? So having your keywords in your domain name, say, for example, like it says Patel's Bakery, and that domain name itself says what it is. It's Patel's Bakery, right? If I have something like example.com, I wouldn't know if it is Patel's Bakery or Khan's Bakery or whatever, right? So that also basically helps. Yeah. Superlative, what do you mean by superlative? Okay, you mean English grammar? Of course, why not? Really? No, that is not true. Yeah, you can use, it is up to you how you want to describe. If you think your bakery is best, describe it that way. Why not? Keywords in the? See, there is no prohibition on using keywords in the domain name. However, if you think that is going to help you rank better, even though you don't have relevant content on the page, that is not true. You feel free to use keywords, and if you can describe your website's domain names in a good manner, like this person has done, like Patel's Bakery, say, for example, it tells something about your website, tells something about your business. Use those descriptive keywords in your domain names. But if you're focusing on search engines and say, okay, I am writing content about this, which is not very worthy that I know of. However, I want to optimize this website to rank better, and I want to use certain keywords in my domains, that is not going to help. Yeah? Tip number 4, images. Now, this is another important thing which is ignored usually by the webmasters. So when you have images, try to provide alternative content. Right? So, for example, if you have an image on your website which is your restaurant's picture, right? When Googlebot comes and crawls that page, Googlebot would not be able to understand if it is your home or if it's a garden or if it's your restaurant, right? So it is important for you to describe that image in text for Googlebot. So what are the things that you can use to describe this is like use descriptive image names. The file name of the image, right? Use an appropriate name. Just don't use random names like 1.jpg or abc.jpg, etc., etc. The second thing that you can use is the alt tag. How many of you know of alt tag? Many of us, right? Alt means alternate. So this is also useful for the users who are using, who have disabled images on these browsers or whatever. If there is a problem in loading image, they will see this alternate text and they will know what was there and things like that. So that helps the users as well as the search engines. The other thing is use captions for your images, right? That also helps. Tip number 5, remember rich snippets. So when appropriate, do make use of rich snippets. So example content, like where rich snippets is applicable. Address. Reviews, testimonials. Events. Absolutely. Blog posts. A lot of things, right? Google is supporting a lot of content, types of content, to make it more user-friendly. Now, we have seen that example in the past when we are looking at how search works. We have seen those stars and the time and things like that, right, in the search results. This is where it comes from. So if you have a, say, recipe website, try to use rich snippets and then mark your ratings and all the other relevant content, which is structured data basically, can be structured in some manner, you can actually mark that. And if you mark that, it is not a guarantee, but Google tries to display that content in the search results, so it gives more insight into your web pages to the users who are searching for that. The events page would look something like this, right? The event date, the name, the link to that page, and the name of the event, etc., etc. If you're not very technical, but however you have a website, you can also use something called Data Highlighter. That is one of the tools Google released. You can use this tool. Basically, this is a simple user interface. You need not write any code. You just go on highlighting some things on your pages, the structured data, and you describe it in text, and that's all. Google will try to take that information and create this kind of search results for you. Tip number 6, expand your presence. So when you're thinking about your business, success online and things like that, it is not just the search that you're thinking about. And even when you're thinking about search, it is not just SEO that you should think about. Rather, you should look at different things, like try to be on different platforms. Now, what do I mean by platforms? If you're on YouTube, say for example, and you have very good videos that you have created about your service on YouTube, there are chances that these YouTube videos will also rank in the search results when people are searching for those kind of services. So it is not just your website, but using YouTube can also help you rank better in search results. And say, for example, Google+, as we mentioned, the authorship tag. That is one of the most useful things if you're an author. And there are various other things that you can actually use to make your presence more visible in the search results using different Google platforms and other platforms as well. Other important thing is finding your audience and creating buzz around it. So how will this help? A lot of people talk about PageRank, building links, and things like that. How do you build links to your website? Right? If you're trying to use all those malicious techniques where you're going and posting on forums just for the sake of links, writing articles as guest posts and things like that, they are not going to work. Instead, what you should focus on creating buzz in the community so that other people are actually sharing your content with each other, right? Writing about you and things like that, which will eventually build links for your website, right? So that is one of the important things that you should note. The final thing is to invest in social media. Social media is the in thing, everybody knows, and it is an important thing, and it will also definitely help in search results as well. It is not a direct signal to rank web pages, right? Let's make that clear. It's not a direct signal that we use to rank search results. However, it can have a broader impact in the community, and that impact will be recognized by Google in various ways. Just like the examples we took. If people are talking about you, sharing your content, writing about you, then automatically people are linking to your website, and those links might help increase your page rank, right? So these are the 3 things. There are more things that you can do, actually, but these 3 things I wanted to bring to your notice. The final thing is to avoid common pitfalls. Now, we have already talked about the search quality guidelines. That is the most primary thing that you should worry about when thinking about avoiding common pitfalls. Even if you are not doing SEO yourself, you're hiring some SEO or you have an in-house team or whatever, you personally should go through, it's not a very long document, it's a very small document describing do's and don'ts in a very plain English. Go through that document, make sure your SEOs are doing the right things. That is extremely important. Following that, don't get caught in SEO trends, right? As we released, as we told before, that we update our algorithms at least 500 times every year, right? They're like big changes, small changes. So it is like more than one update a day. And if you are behind that, if you're trying to chase all these updates and trying to optimize your websites accordingly, it is impossible, right? It is impossible. You can't optimize and change your website content, etc., every day based on what you're seeing, right? So it is impossible. So don't get caught in that. Rather, focus on giving value to your users. Don't hire rogue SEOs. Again, we have already discussed this point. When you're hiring SEOs, be extremely careful. make sure that everything they do is 100% transparent. Right? They're able to share with you everything that you're doing with your website. If they say, no, this is secretive, we cannot share what we're doing to rank you higher in search results, do not work with those SEOs. Simple. Watch out for guarantees. Other thing people fall for is guarantees. Somebody tells you, okay, I can rank your website at #1 position in 7 days for this query. And you say, wow. And then you pay him, and you see your website ranking higher. Then you see all of a sudden your website is gone from the search results. Right? Why would that happen? So these spammers, these SEOs, like black hat SEOs as we call them, they might use some malicious techniques to increase your page rank or rank your websites and things like that. However, when Google recognizes that, sees that, it will pull that website down from the search results. Sometimes we also take the website entirely out of the Google's index. So it will never rank for any query anywhere. That might also happen. So be extra careful. Create great content for users and all else will follow. So your primary focus should be on your users always. If you're thinking about search engines always, it is an impossible task. You just can't catch up. Right? And what Google is trying to do is trying to understand your content as you write it. As a genuine user would write it, would create it, Google is trying to understand that. So you're going in two different directions if you're chasing the search updates. So that brings us to the last part of our talk, where I'll share some resources where that will help you basically to learn more about what are the other things that you can do to improve your search visibility and apply those things. And also, if you're in trouble, sometimes like crawl errors, indexing errors, or whatever, then you can also find some helpful articles to help you. The primary place for you to go for all the resources that Google has for its webmasters is google.com/webmasters. Right? Simple. So most of the resources that we have for our webmasters, you can find it from there. We will start with webmaster education. So if you are very new to SEO, or if you're thinking of hiring SEOs and things like that, this is a very good resource to go through. Right? It has a few very important topics in very plain English, easily understandable, accompanied by videos, and very short so that you can finish quickly. So this will basically help you get started with your SEO journey. So I would highly recommend for all the new SEOs or webmasters, business owners, everyone to go through the resource at least once and understand how search works and basic things about SEO. The second thing is the Help Center. Now, when you are into the thick of things, then you would want to go to this place for, say, for example, learning more about rich snippets. If you look at the extreme right, second article is about rich snippets. How to implement that? We know rich snippets are important when you have certain type of content, but how do you apply that? Go to google.com/webmasters, go to the Help Center and read that article. It will explain you in detail how exactly you can apply rich snippets on your websites. Right? Also, this also has a dedicated section for fix an issue, like if you have crawl errors, indexing errors, etc., etc. It will show you how you can fix those errors and help Google understand your websites better. The third and the most important thing is Webmaster Tools. It basically, as most of us know, shows information about your website in relation to Google. It allows us to communicate with you. For example, if sometimes, right, if anytime like your website is hit by a malware or being hacked, and when Google recognizes that, it has a place to communicate with you when you sign up with Webmaster Tools. So when you sign up with your with the Webmaster Tools, add your website and verify it, Google knows, okay, for this website, this is the owner. And then when we see these instances of websites getting hacked or malware, etc., etc., how many of you have seen that message in the search result where it says, this site may harm your computer, this site may be compromised, right? Those messages appear in the search results when Google identifies some problem with your websites. And if you are signed up for Webmaster Tools, then it knows how to communicate, who to communicate to, and then it sends emails to this resource. So it is extremely important for you to sign up for this if you haven't already done so. And then it also provides you to control how your website appears in the search results. Say, for example, we have looked at the site links. So, for example, say one of the site links you didn't like, right? You say, okay, in my site links, as my site is appearing in the search results, I don't like one of these site links. I don't want this to appear in the search results. How can you control that? Although Google doesn't allow you to recommend site links, that is done automatically, it allows you to basically tell Google that I do not want to see this or this page to be shown as a site link for my website. you can do that. Or you want to target your website for only one region. You're India focused, your business is in India, all your customers are in India, you want to focus only on India, then you can go into your Webmaster Tools and say you can geo-target your website. Right? And a lot of things that you can do. We will take a look at one of the things that really helps you is the search queries page. This page will basically show you what were those keywords that users typed in, exactly the keywords that users typed in Google search and your page is ranked for. This will basically help you understand what content from my website is more searched for, or how can I optimize my content using appropriate keyword. What are the keywords that people are using so that I can modify my content to have those keywords in my web pages, so on and so forth. It will also show you how many times your pages have appeared in the search results, how many click-throughs you have gotten, and also what have been the average position of each of these pages in your search results. And a lot of other information, of course.
I have a question.
Yes, very quick one.
Hello, we'll keep the questions at the end.
Yeah.
We'll just wind up now, Syed.
Yes.
I don't know how many slides you got, and we'll keep it quick.
Right. So
we'll just pick it up.
So this is how Google communicates, basically. This is how you will get emails in your website with examples and links to articles that can help you rectify the problems. The other important resource is the Webmaster Hangouts. How many of you know about this? Okay. Yeah, very few. So basically, these are the Hangouts that we do every month. For Indian webmasters, you will see me there and one of my colleagues in the Hangouts. And we are there live for 1 hour. And these Hangouts, everybody know what a Hangout is, by the way. Yeah? No, sometimes I got a question like, okay, what is a Hangout, by the way? So yeah. So follow this tag on Google+, G India Webmaster. And we will basically be posting all the updates here and the Hangouts timing for every month on this tag. So do try to attend these, or you can watch this live as well. So a quick recap before we close. We have learned about how search works, and you would want to know more about how search works and things like that basically by going to the Webmaster Academy, that resource, or the Help Center, etc., etc. Apply basic visibility tips that we have discussed here, and do more, of course, beyond that by using the resources and channels that I have shared with you. So yes, that's all I had for you today.
Thanks. Let's give a huge round of applause.